Welcome to episode 12 of the 4040 podcast. Today I'm in downtown Neuquen and I want to talk about coffee and entrepreneurship. So we got Central Park over here and we've got the main banks in the kind of financial district over here. It's financial district. It's a town of like 400,000. And then across the street over here is the coffee shop from my sister-in-law and my brother-in-law. So 5 years ago, maybe 4 years ago, right around the pandemic, they had the idea to start the first specialty coffee in Neuquen. So I wanted today to talk about specialty coffee in Neuquen and find out how that's going. All right, Raul, thanks for joining me for episode 12. First things first, let's order a coffee.
All right, yeah.
What do you want?
Welcome to Cafe Con Ciencia.
Thank you, yeah. What are you ordering today? Flat white?
I ordered something that's not on the menu.
Did you? What do you order?
We call it the flatito.
Should I order one?
Yeah, you should order one.
Let's get three then. We can get one for my helpful cameraman as well. You're welcome. So anyways,
Voy a pedir tres.
¿Tres
Tres
flatitos?
flatitos. Y para seis,
Sí.
tres.
Genial.
No, los tres flatitos.
Todos flatitos, sí. Sí, bueno. Gracias. So first of all, what is specialty coffee?
Specialty coffee is...
Opposed to normal coffee.
Well, you have... So it's specialty coffee or third wave coffee. You
Okay.
have coffee histories, and there's divided into three waves. You have first coffee in your house. Back then, coffee you just have it in your house. Then you have coffee outside of your house in a commercial setting like Starbucks, like Cafe, Dunkin'
Right.
Donuts. And then you have more people going out for coffee. Say, I want something that's better quality. So you have third wave coffee.
Okay.
Or specialty coffee. It's a different way of drinking coffee. Our goal of specialty coffee is quality. That
Right.
comes from planting the coffee, growing the coffee, picking the cherries, processing them, roasting them, and then when it comes to our hands,
Okay.
the way we process them.
So in every step of the process, it's a higher level of quality than
Yeah.
a commercial or large
And-
volume.
Yeah, and we are always examining. I mean, you can look at some of our tools we have over
Right.
here. We weigh our coffee. We know exactly how much coffee is going to the portafilter, how much is going out.
You even have a spectrometer now, right?
Yeah, refractometer.
Oh, sorry, refractometer.
We know
Yeah.
when we extract coffee, we know how much solid we have in our liquid to ensure a good extraction.
Okay.
To know if it's well extracted.
Okay. So I can imagine in Argentina, they don't grow high quality coffee in Argentina, right?
No,
In the north of Argentina.
They don't grow coffee in any part of it. It's not possible.
You're not going to have the high quality machines from Argentina?
No, Argentina does not produce high quality espresso machines.
Like that espresso machines from Italy?
Italy.
Okay.
Yeah. So that one in particular has it's very high tech. That one has multi-boiler system. So each group, you have three groups, right? Each group has its own boiler, and we're able to control the temperature on each group. So, for example, let's say one day you get a Brazil and a Colombia, and the Brazil tastes good at 95 degrees Celsius, and the Colombia tastes good at 93. I can set each one with different temperatures.
Gotcha.
And we know how much temperature. That one is volumetric. So, for example, I put in 18 grams of coffee in the portafilter, and I want 38 grams to come out, it will stop at 38 grams.
Okay.
So it's very precise. It gives us a lot of opportunity to be able to control all the variables. So that's another thing. What we do is the way we ensure quality is controlling all the variables.
Right.
And we are on top of all the variables. Temperature, which three main variables are temperature, weight, and grind size. Coffee grind size.
Gotcha. Okay. So essentially to make especially coffee, you've got to have the right bean coming in, which you can't get in Argentina. You have to have the right equipment, which you can't get in Argentina.
Yep.
And then you have to control the process extremely well.
And then we have to also teach the skill. When we were in Neuquen, we were the first specialty coffee shop. Not the first in Argentina, but the first in Neuquen. And there were no specialty coffee baristas. Benham. great cameraman, learn coffee.
Even better barista, huh?
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Let's see. So
Yeah.
this is the flatito. So this is, what is it? It's the double shot of espresso?
Double shot espresso with a little tiny bit of milk. It's not a menu. It's a drink that I came up with.
And they also call this the magic in some coffee circles.
And they call it magic, but the magic actually is a little bigger cup. This is a smaller cup.
This is a very, very little amount of
Very
milk.
small, yeah. Very small amount.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Well, let's take our flatitos and let's continue the interview over there, yeah?
Yeah.
Sounds good. Now that I have my coffee, thank you, it's delicious. I think I'm ready to actually introduce you. So, Raul Lopez Yazdani, I can't tell you my favorite brother-in-law, but you're my brother-in-law, and you're here in Neuquen.
We all know.
So, how was it that you decided to start a coffee shop in Neuquen, especially a coffee shop in Neuquen?
So, I'm from Puerto Rico. I'm a U.S. citizen. I had the opportunity, you know, I can open a coffee shop easily in the United States, Puerto Rico. My wife's from Argentina. What I saw, you know, my goal was always, you know, it was to open a specialty coffee shop, and the reason why I wanted to do that is because I want to serve coffee to people. I love serving coffee, creating an environment. For me, this is not specialty coffee. For me, this is coffee. I
Right.
believe coffee should be drunk like this. I don't think there's a distinction between this and like normal coffee. I think this is for me is normal coffee. There's nothing special about this. This is for me is normal. Um, and when I came to Argentina, especially Neuquén, there was no specialty coffee. And when I say like no specialty coffee, like it's not like I'm not like a snob because you know there's no specialty coffee. Here in Argentina, in difference to Puerto Rico, normal coffee sucks.
That's a descriptive word for it.
Really bad.
Yeah.
Like the coffee is so bad here that it's illegal in other countries.
What's the name for that coffee?
It's called torrado.
Torrado, yeah.
So what they do here is they get the worst of the worst beans. It's called robusta, and they don't get like a nice robusta. They'll get the worst of the worst. They will burn it, but since it tastes so bad, they roast it. I say burn because they do a dark roast. For me, dark roast is burning coffee. They burn the coffee with sugar to mask the horrible flavors that it has. The horrible whatever you call it. It's not flavor. It's, I don't know, whatever. And they'll put sugar in it to mask the crappiness.
Make it drinkable.
Yeah, and the thing is that when you take sugar at such a high level, it becomes cancerous.
Right.
So it's only legal in 5 countries: Cuba, Argentina, Brazil, Chile, and Spain. And those, and other than Cuba, but those other countries, they're known for having like really crappy coffee. So, however, I just want to make a side note. In Argentina, I've had the worst coffee possible, but I've also had the best coffee.
Right. Because you weren't not the first.
Extremes.
You weren't the first specialty coffee in Argentina.
No.
Because Buenos Aires had some cute little coffee shops where you're gonna get good coffee and have a good ambiance.
And it's incredible. The Buenos Aires specialty coffee. I've learned a lot. I got this Specialty Coffee Association, the SCA certificate in Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
And I actually learned a lot of coffee through my friends in Buenos Aires. And then I have a friend in Bariloche. So I learned a lot of coffee here in Argentina. So Argentina is very extreme. You either have like really good or like really bad. I went to Puerto Rico a few months ago, and like they had specialty coffee shops, not as much as even Neuquen.
Right.
Neuquen now has more than where I'm from, Puerto Rico. But I could go to a bakery, you know, I can go to a sandwich place and drink the coffee there. It's not specialty coffee, but it's drinkable. Like here, that doesn't happen.
No.
If it's not specialty, it's not drinkable.
Yeah, fair enough. No, so about Buenos Aires, I think I went to Buenos Aires with friends back about a year ago to visit, and I was kind of like, I didn't like the big city, and I was uncomfortable in Buenos Aires. And then you and I went to Buenos Aires in December, and I will say that you're an excellent travel guide. So if anyone wants to tour Buenos Aires, maybe they can pay Raul to take them. But your idea was essentially people put especially coffee shops in areas that are nice, that people go to, that are a nice area to go to in the first place, right? So when you want to visit Buenos Aires, you just go specialty coffee shop to specialty coffee shop. Right?
Yeah, it's funny because I would put in the Google Maps, okay, one specialty coffee shop, and we go walk there.
Yep.
And then I'll go to another specialty coffee shop, and he was like, "So this is what you do when you go to Buenos Aires? You go to a specialty coffee shop to specialty coffee shop?" And then one of the specialty coffee shop we had just left,
Yeah.
it was, it was next to a synagogue. And I told him, "Did you not notice all the Jewish people around?" He was
Right.
like, "Yeah, you're in the heart of a Jewish neighborhood. That's where the people live. You are experiencing Buenos Aires."
That's right. Yeah.
And that's my theory.
Yeah.
That you don't put a specialty coffee shop on the on the equivalent of Times Square, which would be 9 de Julio or Avenida Corrientes in Buenos Aires. You'll put a Starbucks there. You'll put a big chain there. But you want to get a nice specialty coffee shop, you go inside the neighborhoods.
Yeah. That's what I felt like. And then we would walk, right? So you start at one specialty coffee shop, and then you maybe needed to walk for 30 minutes. By the time you get there, you're a little tired, so you want to sit down. You're a little thirsty, so you want to have a coffee, a water, a cookie, maybe, right? And so like it was actually a really nice pace of the day, and you're walking, so you're not just sitting around during vacation, right? So you're enjoying it, you're using some energy. And then the other thing I enjoyed was we went to the one specialty coffee shop, and it was in the art museum.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, let's just go see some art while we're at it, So it made a nice little vacation. It was kind of fun.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that was Buenos Aires. Neuquen, extremely different. Neuquen's city of 400,000. It's an oil city. It's growing fast.
Yeah,
It
really
doesn't
fast.
have the same level of sophistication, of culture, of architecture, of the history of Buenos Aires, right? And so what I think I liked about your story was you were always passionate about music and coffee, right? But you were also kind of excited because you felt like even in your small little way, you had helped to make Neuquén a better city, right?
Yeah. So I had a friend. He's Mexican American, and he wanted to open up a burrito place, and where he was living in Greenville, South Carolina. And he said, "Oh yeah, I went to New York City and I saw this idea and I loved it. I was great. I think that would do great. So I'm thinking of moving to New York City and doing that."
Huh?
Like, well, why go to New York City? You're already in Greenville. You already have a house here. They don't have a place like that here. Why don't you do it here? Like, no, but I don't like Greenville. I like New York. Well, I don't like Neuquen, but like it's not like nobody goes to Neuquen. It's like, whoa, what a beautiful city. People go to Buenos Aires and say that. But I said, if I wanted to make sure that when I put my business, the city that I'm in is so much better because my business is there. And he kind of made a joke. He's like, "Oh yeah, because Neuquen is so much better because of your coffee shop." I'm like, "Yeah, man. Before we were here, coffee was not drinkable. It sucked. I had to bring coffee from other cities and make it in my house. I couldn't go out, and we've changed coffee culture." And he's like, "Oh yeah, that's true." So yeah, that's one thing that attracted me, a lot of growth, economic opportunities, but I'm naturally a disruptive person. So I like
That's one way to put it, yeah.
I like disrupting.
So we went to college together, and you always had a big personality, and I always thought you were too aggressive or too disruptive.
Maybe I was a little more aggressive.
Maybe too much, yeah. But it has its place, right? Nothing gets changed unless people try to change things, right?
It's funny, ever since I've come to Neuquen, I've got kicked out of 2 coffee shops. I'm banned from 2 little tiny coffee shops because I have a motto for life. They hate us because they ain't us. So I'm banned from 2 coffee shops. And in the music scene, I'm not banned, right? But like, there's some musicians who said they will never play with me.
Yes, you have friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have some friends. I still have friends.
No, but I like the principle that you were saying of whether you decide to open a coffee shop or whether you decide just to work in a company, is to try to convince yourself that whatever place you're living, whatever group of community you're around, is a little bit better because you're there and you're trying to add to it, right?
Yeah.
And your way was maybe more specific than if you just joined a company. It's like you were the first person to bring high quality coffee to Neuquen, and that's something to
now I can say that Neuquen has 4 legit specialty coffee shops,
Yep.
and the city next to us has one that's legit too. So in the area, we have about 5. And there's a bunch of coffee shops. They say they're specialty coffee, and they're not. That's also a trend. They're trying to jump on the trend. But I can say there are 5 authentic specialty coffee shops in the area, and makes me happy.
Yeah.
That we went from 0 to 5 within a span of 4 years.
Yeah. No, that's excellent. So if we talk about the entrepreneurial side of it, I was alluding to it when we were ordering the coffee, right? You had to bring in the green beans, or if you had to find someone who's bringing in high quality green beans, you had to understand the importation costs. The rules were always changing in Argentina because
Yeah.
when you first came here, it was a more conservative, right of center Macri, I think, when you first
Yeah,
came,
yeah.
and then it was the 4 years of COVID and of the left of center, and then now we have
Left of center.
yeah, very left, and now we have the libertarian president for almost 6 months. So you've had to experience the volatility of the political scene and the implications it has on business.
Yeah.
So what just if without maybe what are the few of the most difficult sides of being an entrepreneur in Argentina, especially in something that's dependent on bringing in product from another country?
So obviously, it's possible to bring stuff from other countries. We don't have an embargo like in Iran. My mom's from Iran, so I've dealt with embargoes and stuff like that. I know how it is. We don't have that. We have a self-placed embargo, basically, which is kind of stupid. You can find stuff just more expensive. Um, I was able to make contacts. So, for example, the espresso machines that I use, I don't buy it at a wholesale. I don't buy it at a wholesale price. I buy at factory price, basically, because I was able to become a distributor of that brand. So looking for different opportunities. So it's a new company that they're trying to get into Argentina. So we're distributors of that brand. So they're able to find good price. I've learned how to bring things contraband. Um, and I'm not
And
the
by
only one.
contraband, you mean legal.
Legally for personal use in my personal coffee shop.
Yes. So you had to be creative. And
Yeah.
so I did an episode on Argentine culture, and one of the things I see throughout Argentina is lo atamos con alambre.
Yeah.
Thank you. So we fix it with wire.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of like, because it's been complicated and there's a bit of a game with everything you want to do, you have to find a way to get things done.
Yeah, a lot of problem solving.
Yep.
And obviously, I look at Argentina as a long-term investment. And also, especially this coffee shop, we had a very expansionist strategy. For example, we make our own pastries. So that making your own pastries, making your own bread, that works if there's large economies of scale.
Sure.
Doesn't work if you have one small coffee shop. So now we're seeing the fruits of that a little bit. Roasting coffee too. So in contrast to the United States, I was in Puerto Rico recently, and I was amazed by how any crappy place was like packed. And like if you're in Puerto Rico and your restaurant goes under, it's because you really were like idiot, you're stupid. You like had roaches coming out of your kitchen,
So
literally.
You really believe that it's easy in Puerto Rico compared to Argentina? You should succeed if you have any amount of effort.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Puerto Rico, especially because it's touristic, but also because, and that's the point I want to get to, access to credit.
Mm.
There are no mortgages.
No, in Argentina.
In Argentina. So I'm renting both places. I put a lot of money into this renovation. So if you're an American citizen, you look at like, oh man, you're gonna put money into a rental property that's not yours. That's crazy. Well, that's how it works in Argentina,
yes.
right? So and then also you have a lot of negotiation to deal with. So I have a pretty long contract. Within 4 years, I have a 4-year contract with a clause saying we can extend it. We got priority, which I think that I think with 4 years that we'll be here, we're gonna make the money back.
Right.
But
Benjamin was he was making some videos of this location. We can show over top of us talking, but this location is large. I don't know how many square meters it is, and when you bought it, it was a rundown.
It was
electronics shop, internet company. Yeah, it was run down, and you had to expose the brick. You had to bring back the old charm of this building.
Yeah,
and that's not cheap. And like you said, like when I first found out, how much money you're spending to try to get this place just feasible to open, it was like, that's crazy because you've improved this for the owner of the building.
Mm-hmm.
But like you said, that's just the way it is. There's no opportunity for you to go out and get a mortgage where your mortgage payment will be anywhere close to a monthly rent. Right?
Oh, right now. So that's why I decided to. So last year, Argentina was undervalued. It was completely cheap.
That's right.
It was ridiculous because the government was subsidizing everything. Everything was cheap. So I said, you know what? I'm going to take advantage of this. It wasn't easy to get credit, but they were giving out loans at an interest rate that were half the inflation. And, you could stop paying the loan. The bank can sue you and demand that you pay back the loan entirely, and you're still like you'll end up paying back like 30% of the real value
Right.
of what you received. So it's crazy. But I decided to take advantage of that because I said like either Argentina is gonna explode upwards or explode downwards. Is this gonna become like extremely successful or this is gonna become the next Venezuela? And I studied history, political science.
Right.
I I did not think that this would become Venezuela. Obviously, everybody in the Venezuelans, they thought they weren't going to become Venezuela, and they
Sure.
did. But I think it's a little bit different. Venezuela was already dictatorship. Argentina was not. The Argentine democracy is very stable. The results are not disputed. They are. There's a lot of corruption in the electoral process, right? There is a lot of stealing of votes, but that's easy to control in a certain way. With Milei, he had an excellent campaign. We had ballot. I was a campaign coordinator here
Right.
in Neuquen, and I had more than one ballot watcher per voting table. So that's basically the only way you can for there to be corruption. But if you take that away, Argentine electoral process represents the vote, the will of people.
Mhm.
You don't have any like. So people were tired of this, and I knew they were tired of it. And the fact also the Argentine electoral system allows for new ideas, new parties to take advantage and to grow. So you don't have this bipartisan monopoly like you have in other countries like Puerto Rico or United States. So this gives you opportunity to try new things. Well, for example, you have the Kirchners who were left, and now you have libertarian. This is the first libertarian president. So that's why I also decided to take on this risk because I was like 80% sure that if this changed, this would change much for the better. And I'm pretty sure within 2 years there will be mortgages available.
Yeah. Yeah. So going back to the original question about the difficulties of entrepreneurship, you mentioned the importation is complicated. You have to find ways when there's not a clear legal way or whatever. And then
right. For example, next week I'm gonna go to Chile to go get a roaster, and so let me tell you how the process is. In Argentina, if you go on a trip, you bring something back, you have to declare it.
Yes.
And you have a limit of $500. And if you bring something that's worth more than $500, you pay 50% tax on the part that exceeds $500.
Okay.
So you bring something that's $1,000, you're gonna pay 50% on 500.
Sure.
It's gonna be $250. However, if you leave the country declaring that you already have the product, and you come back with the same product, you don't have to pay tax because you left the country with it.
Because you owned it already?
Because I already owned
it. Or you already paid it for it?
So, for example, if I leave with a camera, I say, I have this camera.
Yes.
I come back with the camera, they won't put a tax on it.
Yes.
I could go leave with a Sony camera, come back with a new Sony camera,
okay.
won't pay the tax.
Gotcha.
So what I'm going to do, what I have to do is I have to say, I have this roaster,
yes,
which I already bought. It's true, I already bought it. And come back
with the roaster.
So I won't pay taxes. Now, what we're going to end up doing is, I don't know if they're going to check my card. So we're going to make a false one, a false roaster to make a decoy. Yeah, this is stupid things you have to do.
Be creative.
To say.
So you're buying a roaster for the shop?
Yeah.
Good. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Is it going to go here?
Yeah, we found
a
little tiny 1 kilogram roaster in Chile for $4,000.
That's great, man.
Yeah.
Get started.
Yeah.
That's good. It's cool to see. It's cool to see you bringing coffee here. It's cool to see you struggling through it and trying to succeed despite all the challenges. And now having a roaster can be exciting because now you can start to get some green beans potentially.
Yeah.
To your location. Yeah.
So we're already consulting. So we're gonna buy from an importer. Then the idea is for us to import eventually. So we already have all the contacts, stuff like that.
That's exciting. Good. So capital constraints, importation constraints. Any other big challenges of entrepreneurship or general challenges?
Well, then you also have, crony capitalism is really big in Argentina. People complain about the United States, but like for example, the owners of this building is one of the richest families in the whole city.
Okay.
They've made most of their money through government contracts.
Okay.
Public, construction. They used to own the parking meter. They used to own 70% of all the income from the parking meter used to go to this family and 30% to the city.
Yeah.
And the family didn't
No,
fix the
you're
roads.
saying that is just a general complaint about Argentina, or is that a specific challenge to entrepreneurship?
I mean, that affects entrepreneurship because, entrepreneurship means, you want to start new businesses,
Yes.
right? New people.
Yes.
And you have these big families. You kind of have you do have a lot of feudal systems in Argentina. Have this.
So they're taking away opportunities from new disruptive people who maybe would do it cheaper or differently.
Yeah.
Because they historically are the ones who get the contracts or whatever.
Yeah, because for example, when I'm doing, any type of disruption means high risk, right? So when I have a high risk, I mean, I could, if I were to put a normal coffee shop here, I would make a lot of money. It'd be packed, because that's what everybody knows. Now, on the long run, being disruptive means that the idea is that the traditional coffee shops will go down and we'll not only get those customers, but we'll start getting new customers, people who say, I don't like coffee. You don't like coffee because you never had specialty coffee, and they'll start drinking specialty coffee. But it's a high risk operation when I'm running here. And when, I don't have, control of the rent. So I actually had a dispute with the owners because they interpreted the contract in a way that allowed them to increase my rent by 2 times when we were still in construction.
Yeah.
So we first said at the beginning was, okay, we're gonna raise the rent according to the prices of the coffee that I set. So latte, cappuccino, they're gonna make an index, and if I raise it 50%, they'll raise it 50%.
Sure.
It's good because that gives me control over how much the rent is. It gives me control over the costs.
Sure.
But they took the prices from the other coffee shop. I raised my
Right.
prices 200% the other coffee shop because of the inflation of that year.
Yep, the inflation was crazy. Yeah.
But the contract says in this location,
Sure,
and
sure.
they took that one. So I didn't have control over that. I protested. We didn't work it out, but
Sure.
It's not.
But it's an extra struggle because you
Yeah.
have to fight through these topics. Yeah.
Another struggle was last year. I had pricing. Pricing is very difficult in Argentina, especially when I have a product like mine. I don't have any reference in Neuquen.
No.
Especially coffee, I set the price. Other coffee shops look at the prices that I set, and they say, "Oh, we're gonna be cheaper than him."
That's extremely challenging because I did an episode on inflation, and I was trying to do my best to explain to everyone, but essentially there's a false demand for dollars because the government was not letting people buy dollars. So what that did is it drove up the value of a dollar down here. So for example, when I came here in September, I was buying your most expensive coffee for about $2.
Yeah.
And now your most expensive coffee is about $4, which is similar to the United States, which makes sense because it's more expensive for you to get the beans and the raw product than it probably is in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's because the dollar is becoming more realistic in its value. But because people wanted dollars so badly and they were so hard to get them, it caused you to be able to get more with the dollar logically.
Yeah.
And so if you're trying to set your prices to $1 or to a peso or to what is the minimum wage, it's challenging to make the right strategy.
Yeah. No, it's difficult. And like I said, even especially for a new product, this is nothing standard. This is specialty coffee. We're the first ones.
Mm-hmm.
What's a just price? What's market value? I set the market.
Right.
So, it's kind of difficult, and it's a struggle to set prices. Especially last year, we had to raise prices about 5% each week, and
inflation was 275%, I think, right? That's the number that came out.
Crazy. And you had 215, now it's 275, taking into account the first 3 months of this presidency, which were really high.
Yeah.
Because of all the adjustment. But and it's difficult because we would raise the prices, and I cannot. We would just with the general inflation. But for example, our coffee one day went from 100% one day to the other.
Yeah, because of the importation law.
Because they changed the dollar that they were using. Yep. They were using back then. They'll be importing at a subsidized dollar,
right.
And then they used the market rate dollar, which was twice as much.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then for example, that will go up 100%, but my electricity will go up 5%, but this will go up 20%. So what? How do I? Yeah. So you can't how much do I make on a coffee, or how much do I make on a avocado open toast? I can't. It's really hard for me to just have it on my mind because well, last month it was this, but now it's this went up this much. It doesn't all go up at the same time. It's they just you know, it goes up like one, like I said, 110%, 130, 120.
Yeah, no, that's a challenge.
Yeah.
Excellent.
But
Well,
we haven't raised this year we've only raised our prices once or twice.
yeah, this year is different, right? With the dollar blue
much more
stabilization.
stable.
Yeah. So we'll see how
My
it goes.
coffee has stayed the same since January.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you for explaining the challenges of entrepreneurship. I personally don't have a very entrepreneurial mindset. I think it's challenging, and I think maybe not. Maybe many people don't have it naturally, but I appreciated like your combination of having passions and then having the ability to take on risk.
Yeah.
Maybe more than I would, naturally. But you've created a cool environment. You're helping teach a skill to people. You're giving jobs. And so I think it's exciting to see it. Yeah.
Thanks. So we got more coming. Follow us on Instagram.
Awesome.
We have a lot of cool things.
So sorry, Cafe Con Ciencia in Neuquen. How can someone follow you, or how can someone get your coffee?
Instagram, Cafe Con Ciencia. Coffee with science, but in Spanish.
Okay.
Yeah, just Instagram. We don't have an e-commerce yet, but we're working on it.
So for an American audience, if they want to go to Patagonia, they're probably going to fly to Buenos Aires, and then from Buenos Aires they might fly to Bariloche.
Yeah.
But if you fly to Neuquén and then you drive to Bariloche, or if you fly to Neuquén and then fly, I don't know, to Calafate or something, they can come to Cafe Con Ciencia, and we'll link to it in the show notes. Any of our Spanish listeners who are in Neuquén already, check it out. Very good coffee.
Thank you very much.
Awesome.
Appreciate it.
Raul, thank you for explaining a little bit about your business, a little bit about specialty coffee.
Thank you for having me.
And listeners, thank you very much for listening. Remember, you can follow us 4040 Podcast on Instagram, and we're also on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and on YouTube.
Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe.